Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome back to another video, guys. Today's video, I figured we talk about something that I usually do a reoccurrence of and stuff like that. This channel, I'm sure some of you have noticed, I do a lot of PlayStation 2 stuff. I do a lot of PlayStation 4 stuff and stuff like that. But for the past couple of years, I've talked frequently about the PlayStation 5. Now, of course, as I'm sure most of you have known, the PlayStation 5 has been out for a couple years now. But due to the pandemic, it's been kind of a struggle trying to get it. In fact, for some people, it's been nearly impossible to get due to people scalping them at high, ridiculous prices. Never mind the fact that there's been a chip shortage for the PlayStation 5. And so it's because of these reasons alone that I created this sub-video series. It's not really a video series per se. But it's more a recurrent theme, which is that of, is it worth getting a PS5 in such and such year? Now, last year I had mentioned about, is it worth getting a PS5? And my answer to that was no. And that was obviously due to the fact of, A, the amount of exclusives that are available for the PlayStation 5. And a lot of people get mixed up when it comes to certain games that are exclusive for the PS5. That is not including the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, and that does not include Kingdom Bridge of Spirits, so on and so forth. It only includes a handful of games, which I will label them for you and stuff. And again, it's because of these games at the time that made me said it's probably best just to wait for later on. That way, A, more availability is easier to get by that point, and B, there'll be a lot more games that are worth getting at PlayStation 5. For me, in particularly, they are, of course, Demon's Souls Remake, and then Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Now, when you think about that, those two games, while yes, are worth getting the PlayStation 5, to me, I would want more games availability. That makes me want to get the PlayStation 5 that much more. That was last year's comment. This year, however, though, admittedly, and it's going to be interesting, and we'll talk about all of that, but this year will change my mind, because may not be in 2022, but by 2023 and then onward, it will be worth getting a PlayStation 5. Yes, you heard me say those words. By 2023, it will be worth getting a PlayStation 5. Now, for some people who have followed my channel, and for people who are familiar with me, most people are going to say, oh, well, obviously we know why it would be worth it, because obviously for Final Fantasy content. And you're partially right, but I do actually have an extended reason when looking into this. So, yes, for those that are not familiar, after Sony's State of Play, Square Enix little event, and multitude of online events that they have done since the lack of E3 this year, there's been a number of reveals that have been made. So, for the obvious one, there's Final Fantasy 16, which is officially going to be available for the PlayStation 5. And then, of course, there's Final Fantasy Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that will be available exclusively to the PS5. As of right now, there has been no confirmation for a PS4 or a Steam version for that matter. But in terms of Final Fantasy VII Remake content, it's only Rebirth, and then of course Integrate, which was the DLC episode that they have revealed. And as of right now, it's available for PS5 and now Steam. And unfortunately, there has not been an update for it to be available for the PlayStation 4. Which still doesn't make sense to me, but I guess in terms of like trying to boost sales for the PlayStation 5. But again, it's DLC content. More people would have the PlayStation 4 version as to oppose the PS5 version. So why would you make a DLC exclusively for one console? It's one thing if it was costume variants, but this is actually an episode story that happens within Final Fantasy VII Remake. So again, it doesn't make sense to me. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's available for Steam, but you're not putting on the PS4 still? That doesn't make sense whatsoever. That's just so weird. And then, of course, aside from that, there's also one other PlayStation 5 exclusive game, and that is going to be Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, even though at the state of play it mentioned PS5, but I mentioned at some point in time it will be available for the Xbox Series console or PC. And so while these are 3 extra games that are available or will be available for the PlayStation 5, the reason why I say by 2023 it will be worth getting the PlayStation 5 then is also for in terms of future development. You know what I mean? So let's keep this in mind. Both Resident Evil and Final Fantasy are AAA series. They are AAA game series that have been developed and everything for the majority of our years, you know? They are titled as AAA games, which means that they're going to be the highest selling in terms of console variants and stuff of that nature. So what that tells me is that since these types of games are going to be exclusive to the PlayStation 5, or in this case, the next generation of consoles, that tells me that they're pushing for the next generation sales. Which means there will be a shift from games being released to the PlayStation 4 and slowly be a transition for more games being released exclusively to PlayStation 5. So even though looking towards 2023's release in terms of games, while yes, there are still a little few exclusivities for the PS5, looking forward from here, we will get more exclusive games available for the PlayStation 5, which means it will be more of a reason to get a PlayStation 5. So yeah, by next year, the next year that they have an E3 or some other event, there will be more games revealed and more than likely more games that will be exclusive for the PlayStation 5, which means that more of a reason that you would want to get a PlayStation 5. But yeah, in some cases, yeah, it is because of the fact that both 16 and Rebirth are exclusive to PS5. That is a main reason. I will not deny that. But it's also for future development that will continue on looking forward from here. It just makes sense, you know. If there are more games that are going to be available exclusive for the PlayStation 5, of course it makes sense that you would want to get the next generation console in order to have access to those exclusive titles. Not only that, but we also have the fact that there's also one extra title, and while it has not been confirmed as to its title release, per se, there is a possibility that it could only be supported for next generation console, and that's looking towards a game known as Kingdom Hearts 4. Now, during that announcement, they said that it was playing under the Unreal Engine 4, but by the time the end product is made, it will be running fully on Unreal Engine 5, which, if I'm not mistaken, is only supported through the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. So therefore, it means that it will only be available for the next generation console by the time it comes out. Which, if according to some people, judging by the release schedule that we're seeing, Kingdom Hearts 4 could be released in 2024. Which, if everything goes well, according to the statement, could be correct. It could be correct that it could see a release by 2024. If not, 2025. Definitely, but it could be a 2024 release, considering Square Enix and how things are going so far. But in terms of what I'm seeing thus far from Sony, I am seeing a fairly somewhat good incline in terms of business standards is pretty good. They're definitely keeping a strong, solid hold in terms of like trying to release titles exclusive to the PlayStation 5, encouraging people to buy a PlayStation 5. And I can actually confirm this. As of right now, there should be a regular supply of PlayStation 5 systems. Mostly because looking towards what I have seen in the past 6 to 8 months. In the past 6 to 8 months, I have actually seen an increase in people obtaining PlayStation 5. People who I actually associate with, either I work with, or that I know relatively close with. They've been able to get a PlayStation 5 relatively easy. Like, the funny thing is, half of these people don't follow some kind of social media or Discord chat or anything like that that dedicates in terms of following the progression of being able to get a PlayStation 5. They've been able to get it relatively just fine. You know, they've been able to order them through Walmart.com. In some cases, they order them straightly from Sony. Now, record, when you go to Sony's official PlayStation 5 website, you can actually be put into a wait list where you could eventually get a PlayStation 5 when availability becomes available. So it's one of those things where it's like, now in terms of getting the PlayStation 5, it's a little bit more readily available. Can you buy it off a store shelf? No. Will you be able to buy it at retail price? Yes. You'll be able to buy it at retail price online and everything of that nature. Now, in terms of Walmart case, if I'm not mistaken from what I've heard from him, he was able to get it, but he got it as a bundle. So in other words, he got a system along with a couple of games bundled along with it. So if you're wanting to get just the PlayStation 5, that might not be a readily, easily availability in terms of Walmart.com, but in terms of Sony's website for the PlayStation 5, you probably could. It's a matter of just waiting, of course. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this video. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts in terms of like how we're seeing the PlayStation 5 looking forward from here. Perhaps maybe eventually I might finally get me a PlayStation 5. I'm not in too much of a hurry, mostly considering the fact that this is the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts, and there's a lot of stuff coming out of that word work. So in terms of purchasing anything, it's mostly Kingdom Hearts related. But in terms of hopefully getting a PlayStation 5, maybe by the beginning of next year, I can start looking into probably purchasing a PlayStation 5. I don't know. I hadn't really tried, per se. I hadn't tried myself. But who knows? We'll see how that goes. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Catch you guys later.